Welcome back to the Tactical Insight Show, everyone. Arsenal have won 4-0 at Bournemouth. It was a very impressive display from Arsenal, very controlled. And I want to explore what that word control means today. What is it that Arsenal are doing away from home that's allowed them to rack up clean sheets away at Bournemouth, who create chances? They're a decent side. Okay, they haven't won a game this season, but there's things there that you can see they're sort of building into a decent side. They cause Liverpool problems. They cause Tottenham and Chelsea some problems. We went at Everton, won 1-0, Goodison Park, went to Palace and won, and then Brentford earlier in the week as well. It's 5 goals in 2 away performances and 2 clean sheets this week. So are Arsenal misunderstood? Because I went into the game and I tweeted as much. I said Arsenal don't look as fluid with Havertz and Eddie Nketiah, and therefore I'm disappointed by the 11 that's going out. The 11 we can see here on screen, which we'll be breaking down in a second. I've also sort of asked questions about why Arsenal don't look as fluid as last year. Is it Zinchenko? We didn't have him before, now he's in, but that doesn't seem to be the answer. Is it that we're adjusting to new players? What could it be? But again, I go back to this question. Are Arsenal a little bit misunderstood? Are they doing something completely different, Mikel Arteta and Arsenal, that maybe isn't as scintillating, as amazing to watch in a 90-minute game, but over a 38-game Premier League season is going to be far more appreciated? Let's explore that in a little second, but first starting with the match stats as we always do. Bournemouth having 8 shots to our 15. 8 of them were on target from our 15, 58% possession to their 42%, 536 passes to their 376. They did have some of the ball, Bournemouth, and they did look comfortable at times with it, but Arsenal defended them very comfortably as well. And an XG of 3.50 to their 0.82. A lot of that will be racked up by penalties, of course. Penalties are very high XG, but you know what? You earn the right to win your penalties by getting to the area, by showing good passages of play. Arsenal get their penalties, go 2 and 3-0 up by Ødegaard, and Kai Havertz getting his first goal, or first competitive goal in an Arsenal shirt. Let's talk about Arsenal's shape and pressing, because this is something that Arsenal have been doing quite well recently. I mentioned the shape here. Kai Havertz, basically coming into that midfield 3, and because he's more of a 10, there were questions asked about whether Arsenal now were going to shift to a press where if we get Saka, Jesus and Nketiah up the pitch, if they're actually going to start getting Havertz nearer to Eddie Nketiah, so he would press on the defenders. Let's move Bournemouth slightly higher up the pitch. Apologies everyone, while you just bear with me. The question was whether Kai Havertz was going to come next to the forward, Eddie Nketiah in this situation, Jesus and Saka, dropping with the midfield, Ødegaard and Declan Rice. Forward that midfield 2, we know we like to press in more of a 4-4-2, but actually we are still seeing Arsenal revert to last season with Rice coming across, Havertz dropping into that space, Eddie pressing towards the left, and Ødegaard pressing as well. And what Arsenal are doing, I tried to discuss it a little bit in the Tottenham game, where we did have some joy in that first half. Arsenal were almost inviting Tottenham, and they did Bournemouth, to try and play out the back and just waiting to press in the right areas and make sure that they could suffocate them. Arsenal are pressing really well and really efficiently. They're getting a lot of turnovers, a lot of moments in these areas because they're pressing quite well. But what's interesting to see is that he hasn't compromised on his principles too much, in that where at the start of the season it looked like Havertz would be pressing up with Eddie Nketiah, he is actually staying into more central areas and actually winning some duels in there, looking fairly comfortable. Kai Havertz are doing his defensive duties alongside Declan Rice, and ultimately when you've got 2 6-foot+ central midfielders, it's difficult to play through them, it's difficult to play over them. And it's something that Arsenal are having quite a bit of joy with. But Arsenal, for all this and for all their control, Arsenal actually started the first 5 minutes of the game slightly more on the back foot. What do you mean on the back foot? We were 1-0 up after 17 minutes and we were comfortable and Bournemouth didn't do anything. I agree. But let me show you this player influence map from the Stats Zone app. The player influence map shows you the average position of the players, and I've set it to a particular time, so I've set it from minute 0 to minute 5. You look at the average positions of the players, but also the bigger the name shows you the more involved they are. That means how many touches, how many passes, whatever it might be, chances created, whatever it is. And if you look at this one here, I'm showing the Bournemouth players now. Every Bournemouth player in our half, that's their average position for the first 5 minutes. Cook, central midfielder, getting on the ball a lot more than any other player. So Bournemouth actually settled quite well in that first 5 minutes. But then I'll show you Arsenal's player influence graphic. And again, Zinchenko, coming inside a little bit. Arsenal having plenty of the ball. They did in that first 5 minutes. But again, all in our own half. We actually had to defend Bournemouth that first 5 minutes and just get through the first 5, set the tone as very, let's not do anything stupid here. Let's not go behind early on. Let's not sort of get the fans really behind the team because they see some joy in that first 5 minutes, and Arsenal weathered that. But what they also did, and I'm now going to extend that analysis beyond the first 5 minutes and extend it to the first 30. This is what I mean when I say, are Arsenal misunderstood? Because when this team goes out there away from home, they're actually quite good at dropping into a defensive 4-4-2 shape and just ensuring that this team is able to make sure they're not played through, they're quite tight. Jesus helps Zinchenko, Saka helps White a lot, and they're very good at not allowing too many openings, not sort of getting pulled out of position. Ben White, you won't find him overlapping sort of too much in that first 5, 10, 15 minutes of the game. And Zinchenko, who can come inside, is actually holding his position fairly well. Yes, you saw on that average position map in the first 5, he does come inside still because that's his game. That's his job to try help us get control of the ball. But Arsenal don't overcommit too much. And what you end up getting is match stats like these. Let me show you. The first 30 minutes against Bournemouth, I said we'd extend that for 5 minutes to 30. Arsenal had 4 shots to Bournemouth's 1. We had 1 big chance, 197 passes to their 92, and 6 passes into the penalty area. But let's look at Bournemouth stats from the first 30 minutes. If you ever want to quiet a crowd, especially you're away from home against a home crowd who are excited because they're playing Arsenal at home, it's a big moment, all that. They had 1 shot, not a single big chance, 92 passes, so they're getting well outpassed by Arsenal, and they've only got the ball into the penalty area twice. That's completed passes into the penalty area. So immediately, the first 5-10 minutes, okay, you can weather a storm, you can settle down into a game. But if for 30 minutes, so a third of a football match, you've seen your team, and I'm talking about the Bournemouth fans here, you've seen your team barely lay a glove on Arsenal. Immediately that quietens things down. Immediately that just diffuses tensions in the air, excitement, and Arsenal can then just settle and start playing their football. Arsenal then get their goal in the 17th minute. But for that whole first 30, Bournemouth really couldn't get in it. Now, this isn't just true of the Bournemouth game. Let me take you to the other Premier League away game we had more recently. Everton, who had 0 shots, 0 big chances, 46 passes, and 0 passes into the penalty area in that first 30 minutes again. So Arsenal are taking control of these games by sapping any hope out of the home team because they're giving them nothing in that first 30. And we did a similar thing against Palace. Yes, they had 4 shots, as you can see here, still 0 big chances, still only 93 passes, but 0 passes into the penalty area compared to Arsenal's 10. So the opposition, when we're going away from home in the league, are getting nothing into our penalty area. That is 2 passes into the penalty area from every team we've played away from home in the first 30 minutes of football. That is very disciplined, very controlled. And yes, we don't look as fluid, we don't look as exciting. We're not sort of looking like we're going to score with every attack, every time we bomb forward. Arsenal know that they're going to create enough to get themselves a goal or 2 in that first half, or at least, they're going to create enough chances for it to happen. You look at Martinelli and that slightly ridiculous offside against Everton. We had chances with Eddie Nketiah at Palace. If you don't take them, you're going to have chances in the second half. But crucially, you've demoralised the team so much because I think you've sapped the energy and excitement from them by giving them nothing in that first 30. Now, as the game goes on and Arsenal get a goal or whatever, cool, the team open up a little bit more, the opposition, and they're going to start throwing a few more punches. But by that point, Arsenal might have a goal or 2 and the game might be won. And I just think it's so fascinating that Arsenal have shown a similar trend here by managing these first 30 minutes of away games so crucially and in such a disciplined way in terms of conceding very, very little to the opposition, even if it is costing us a little bit in terms of our fluidity and our attacking play going forward. Now, Arsenal do then get the first goal, and it comes from something that, I'm looking at the wrong thing. It comes from something that I've always thought City do really well, and I'm really glad to see Arsenal doing it. They did it last season a lot more with Granit Xhaka, and now we're seeing Arsenal deploy this in their style of football, especially when you've got the likes of Kai Havertz in the team, Jesus playing on the left wing. We saw Jesus have the chance against Tottenham when it was 0-0, I believe, when he made the run to the back post, Saka whipped it to the back post, and Jesus forced a save out of Vicario. And you're sitting there thinking, okay, Jesus, probably not a left winger. I wouldn't have had it on the left wing, but this is where he can have an impact. What am I talking about with everything I've just been rambling on about? Crashing the back post. Now, Eddie Nketiah does really well here in build-up and gives it wide to Saka, who takes on his fullback, and Kluivert is desperately trying to get back to help. Now, this ball's going to go back to Ødegaard, but at this point, the whole team have recognised Eddie Nketiah is going to hold a central space because you just never know where it might fall or whatever. He's the fox in the box, get me closer to the goal. But Havertz and Jesus have recognised an ability to make a run to the back post and overload that area. Now, Cook still gets back to help, but Zabani and Aarons, it's very, very difficult to defend a ball when you're constantly running back and you're just trying to get ahead on it. If they do, at best they're conceding a corner. But when this ball comes back to Ødegaard here, Havertz and Jesus start making the run. Havertz is occupied because he's the tallest player and they're keeping an eye on him. But Jesus peels to the back post and it is a lovely ball from Martin Ødegaard. And there's Jesus to just get ahead on it. And we know what happens. Hits the post and there's Saka to come in and put it into the back of the net at the end. I like seeing this. Box crashing, balls to the back post, really difficult. Balls that come into this area of the pitch here, yeah? If this cross from Ødegaard had come here, Senesi's headering out fairly comfortably because it's much easier when you're front on, you're defending your penalty area, it comes in just to get your head on it and get it out. When it goes to the back post, you don't even want to head this back out because you never know who's there to get on the end of a shot or anything. You're coached and told more often, just get a flick on, get it out, and then defend the next bit of the corner. So it's a really, really good way for Arsenal to either create a chance or sustain possession, and Arsenal do really well there to get a goal out of it. And Saka, he ventures inside and just knows, if Jesus gets ahead on this, then I'm there. Kerkez doesn't react to it. Senesi's keeping an eye on Nketiah, and Arsenal get the goal and go 1-0 up. Now, Ødegaard, who I've mentioned having a big part in this goal, much improved in this game compared to the North London derby. Let's give you some of his numbers. He got a goal, he got an assist, he had one shot in the game, he won a penalty as well. Of course, the assist was for the Ben White goal, fair play to him. 89% pass completion, far higher on his 67% pass completion that he had in the Tottenham game. 21 out of 24 attacking third passes completed. Really, really good from Ødegaard. Really efficient in the final third. He created 3 chances in the game and 4 ball recoveries because we know he works super, super hard as always. Now let's have a look at his passes last week against Spurs. This as well comes from Stat Zone. And we mentioned only the one into the penalty area. The rest, very right heavy, but not as involved. Look how few passes. I mean, yeah, I think he completed more passes in the attacking third against Bournemouth than he did in the whole of any phase of any area of the pitch against Tottenham. So that tells you how much more improved he was and how much better he was at getting on the ball. Now look, okay, you take into account the opposition, but still, that is a staggering rise from Ødegaard. But let me just show you these again. Not involved as much, not too many passes, very much to the right. Now let me show you these against Bournemouth. Much better collection of passes. Yes, still more heavily to the right. That's where he plays. He combines with Saka. But coming inside at times, getting the ball in deeper areas, combining in different areas and making sure that Arsenal keep moving and keep the ball ticking. Very, very impressive from Martin Ødegaard. And it's good to see he had a much improved game. But also look how many of them go into the box. I mean, we talk here about Martin Ødegaard being a player who, needs to create. You want passes into the penalty area, and we see him doing that a lot more against Bournemouth. We want him having actions in decisive areas. And for me, when you're getting an assist for Ben White, fantastic cross into the box. When you're getting an assist for, not an assist, but he puts on a plate for Jesus, who then, header hits the post and Saka scores. But then he's winning the penalty area. That's good. Those are the areas we want him in. And we've seen that he's improved on this massively, over the last season, because he got a lot more goals and assists last year, Martin Ødegaard. But after a dip against Tottenham, great to see him doing it again here against Bournemouth. And that's pretty much it for the tactical insight. Just a few thoughts. I think ultimately this was a game of Arsenal playing their football very well, doing their thing, and Bournemouth couldn't live with it. There's nothing super, new tactically that Arteta deployed. There was nothing here that I thought, wow, didn't see this coming. It was pretty much what I expected. Bournemouth, I think, tried to lay a glove on us, but Arsenal really controlled them, kept them away from goal, and they couldn't do anything. So Arsenal could just settle into the game, play their football, and go get the win. One complaint, though, I do think Bukayo Saka should have come off earlier. 55 minutes in, you're 3-0 up, and Bukayo Saka, who hasn't trained all week, as quoted by Mikel Arteta, came off against Tottenham with an ankle injury, and then we saw something not right with him in the game. He should have come off a lot sooner. I'm not really sure why he played as much as he did, but that's a minor complaint. It was otherwise a very complete day for Arsenal. Mikel Arteta doing his job, Kai Havertz getting the goal, Ødegaard back to his best, and just everyone defensively and offensively doing their thing. Very complete day for Arsenal. They got the 4-0 win, probably the best win of the Premier League so far for Arsenal. And it sends them, I think, into the top 3. I can't remember where that Tottenham-Liverpool game left Arsenal on the table, but Arsenal are mixing with the rest. And with Man City losing, yeah, the title race is well and truly on. It's early, but you need that bit of, you need those moments to hope, right? Because we've got Man City come up next. And of course, there will be a breakdown on the Lons game and the Man City game next week as well. Look forward to you all joining us for that. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe to AFTV if you haven't yet, and we'll catch you on the next Tactical Insight. And go check out all the reaction from the big Bournemouth win as well here on the channel. Catch you soon.